Hey, Jessica.
Hey,
Well, I'm so excited because you're going to do a book review
I am.
today. And even though I didn't read this book, I actually heard a lot about it from you, but also my mom, because my mom happens to be in your book club.
She
So
is, and
I
I
actually
love
have the
it.
book right here. So that I could actually look through while you're, sharing your views and
Going
your
on
thoughts in
and
it.
on and on about how awesome it is.
Yes. And my first thought was like, ooh, it's pretty thick. But then I opened it up and I was like,
hmm
ooh,
I
it
think the
has some
last
pictures
it has
and
pictures, but
charts.
but the last portion like that, it's all
Yes.
notes of the investigation that he did. So it's like, yeah, you're reading most of the book. That this portion is what you're reading, but like this all are just his notes from that you find from in here. So he'll like make a statement and give you a footnote, and then you go to the back of the book to figure out where did you get that information from. And he's not just making it up. So yes, you are reading most of the book, but it's not as thick as you think it is. And like you said, it's
Yeah.
got pictures. Oh wow, the lighting is terrible. And charts and whatnot in it. So it's not just words upon words upon words. Unlike this page, a lot of
Yeah.
it, like, look at that.
Yeah, I know. I came across this page here. I'm like, that's,
Yes.
yeah. Some of those pages are a lot.
Talking about architecture. Yes, architecture is in this
Which
book.
is, ooh, which is nice because it doesn't feel as intimidating. Like now I'm
Yes.
like, okay, I want to read this book. It doesn't feel like overwhelming, which sometimes
hmm
these type of books do feel
Yes.
like, right?
Because it
How
is an
does it read?
apologetics book. It is honestly one of the easiest reads when it comes to apologetics. Because my apologetics book club, we have read a lot of apologetics books. And I think one of the most difficult has been Mere Christianity by C.S. Lewis. And simply because it was written in a different time era, he uses a different language structure slightly than what we're used to. Additionally, he's British and not American. So there is that cultural difference too, that there are times I had to stop and look things up when I read that book, right? Whereas this one is written by an American and he was a cold case detective. And I don't know if he just has this ability to come across as very succinct and concise, but also in a storyteller type mode. It is absolute, like, he information dumps on you like no tomorrow. Every chapter is something that you're sitting here, oh my goodness, I never thought of that. I never thought to ask that question. And he goes into it with so much information that you leave the chapter thinking that was a lot. But it was, while it was a lot, it was easy to digest in how he explains it to you, where he got his information. So yes, it is a very simple read in a good way. It's not that he's talking down to you. He's talking to the reader at a level that no matter who you are, you can understand how he got his information, and he is portraying it to you in a way that you'll understand it. And then he gives you the footnotes. So if you are the type, okay, well, I'm not going to take your word for it. Where did you get that information? Then you can go look at all the academic resources that he pulled to get that information. So it's a very, very simple, easy read. So good.
Yeah, well, I'll definitely have to read it soon, but I'm excited to hear more about your thoughts on it.
So I could honestly probably talk a full hour on how amazing this book is. I will not bore you guys to death, I promise. I would like to say that the book was written by J. Warner Wallace, and he was an atheist, diehard atheist, before he went into the investigation of why is Jesus important? How does he matter? Why does he matter? And all that good stuff. So I wanted to read a quote to you before I go into why this book is so good. He ends towards the back of the book. He says Christian authors, artists, musicians, educators, and scientists had known for years what I was just discovering. Jesus doesn't matter because he influenced the world. Jesus influenced the world because he matters. Everything that was important to me as an atheist was ultimately indebted to Jesus, the man who was with God and through whom all things were made. Jesus is who he said he was, God incarnate. And he spends this entire book explaining to you how he, as an atheist, got to the point of God being, Jesus being God incarnate and coming to the earth. And he does it alongside of an actual cold case that he was solving at the time that he was going through this. And so he is showing you how he is using those exact same skills to solve a cold case to investigate Jesus. And I, as someone that loves logic, because I'm a very logical person, and I know I'm a girl, I can be very emotional. I don't like basing I don't like basing stuff off of emotion because emotions can be very wrong. You shouldn't trust your
Yes.
emotions at all times. You should always check them against something else. So I like the fact that he is a very logical thinker and he puts things in a logical, concise manner. So to see how he solves a cold case and then investigates Jesus at the same time and uses the exact same methods was so interesting because I'm not a cold case detective, but the questions that he asked, like, if Jesus is God incarnate, why did he show up when he did? Now, okay, I read the Bible. I love the Bible. I believe the Bible for everything that it says. I never once questioned, why did Jesus show up in the time period that he did? Why didn't he show up 300 years earlier? Why didn't he show up 300 years later or 1,000 years later? Why at that time? And he spends an entire couple of chapters explaining why that exact time period was the only time period that would fit. Because our God is a God of order and a God of planning and a God, like, he knows exactly when the right time for Jesus to show up. And one of the things is how when Jesus showed up, you had the Roman roads because he was born in the Roman Empire, right? And how before the Roman Empire took over, yeah, there were roads, but they weren't nearly as well kept or well protected as the Roman Empire did it, right? And so when Jesus came, he was able to travel easier to and from where he needed to go during his 3 years of ministry. After he died, and people started spreading the gospel and writing each other messages and letters and whatnot, they could easily go and talk to other people in other places because of the roads. If you were to have Jesus come before, the roads were as well kept or protected or non-existent. And if he had come after, then you have the same problem because the Roman Empire, after it dissolved, people started not taking care of things or, such like that. So just something as simple as the roads and how the gospel could be easier spread during that time. How there was a time of peace. Like this was the only time period during like this ancient history area where there was actually like a big area of just peacefulness because of how the Romans conquered people and whatnot. And it's just one of those questions I never thought about. Why this time? Why not later? Why not, before? And he goes over that, but he actually lays it out for you in a timeline. And he shows like these are where all of these things overlap, like the overlapping of a postal system. And this is something I never thought about because, we live in the day and age we live in. It's like we got email. What is a
Yeah.
stamp? No, I'm kidding. I do know what a stamp is. But, we don't send things via snail mail as often, right? Back then, that's all they could do was rely on couriers to send messages. Well, the Roman Empire is what established a real postal service. Now, there was like the empire before them kind of sort of did it, but it was more so for like noblemen and kings and queens to communicate with each other, right? It wasn't peasants communicating. But you think about all the letters that Paul and Peter wrote to like the Corinthians and, Galatians and all that stuff. Those letters were carried through a postal system, right? Like that would not have happened before because there wasn't an established postal system. So it just blew my mind. This stuff that I never thought of before. And he goes through it in depth about why Jesus matters. And it's not just that we believe that he is the Son of God and that he died on the cross for our sins and he rose again, conquering death so we could go to heaven and spend eternity with him. It's so much more than that, right? And how he goes into like the impact that Jesus had, and not just on Christians, on literature. Jesus is the most written about person period. Now, he's not saying just good, like people that just love Jesus, right? And all good things about it. He's like talking about anybody that has mentioned Jesus, good, bad, indifferent, it doesn't matter. Jesus is the most written about. So he has affected literature. He has affected music. He has affected scientists, education, like you name it, architecture. Like I said, we discuss he discusses architecture in the book. It is because of Christians that all of this stuff has happened and impacted. And like the education, I'm going to go on forever. I tell you, this book is fantastic. The education system, universities were started by Christians and persist today because of Christians. The fact that we have an education system where we help kids, students, whatever, with disabilities, though that was started by a Christian. And he lists the name of these fathers or reverends or, depending on their title of the time of century that they lived in. He actually lists who it is that started these things, and they were all Christians. The fact that we go from grade to grade started by a Christian. I didn't know that. And then looking at like scientists, how Christians enacted like the whole scientific stuff because we were called by Jesus to love the Lord our God with all of our heart, soul, strength, and mind. By mind, meaning don't leave your brain at the door when you walk into a church. No, I want you to seek me out. I want you to know me. I created this earth for you. Look into it, figure it out, because you know more about me when you do. And I love that. Like, God doesn't want us to just sit here, be preached to, and then go about our merry way. He wants us to investigate. He wants us to look into it because he is a faithful and true God. He's not going to just ask you to leave your brain at the door because he wants you to go and seek him out. So, fantastic book. I highly recommend Person of Interest, J. Warner Wallace. If you're a Christian, read it. It is amazing for all the information that he goes through. It is mind-blowingly fantastic. If you are not a Christian, I challenge you to read it, at the very least, to see the impact that Jesus has had on your life today. How what you have around you has been impacted because of what Jesus did and who he is as a person. And at the very least, to see what he has to say. Because as an atheist, going into why does Jesus matter? Who cares? He answers that question. And then because again, I will continue talking about this for another hour because it was so good. And I don't want to bore all of you to absolute death. But there is one more passage I wanted to quote from him that, supports what I'm saying. Jesus is in the business of changing hearts and minds, creating something from nothing, turning apathy into conviction, and molding hopelessness into meaning. He's done it for thousands of writers, artists, musicians, educators, and scientists. He's done it for millions of believers, just as he did for me. He can do it for you as well. We serve a wonderful, amazing, awesome God, a God that can change the hardest of hearts, the God that loves us so much that he would die on the cross for our sins and come back again and say, come spend eternity with me. Like, he wants a personal relationship with you. With you. And it's so amazing to see how awesome our God is and how over the entirety of existence, how he has proven himself time and time again. So I challenge you, read the book. And in the comments, tell us what you think, because I'd love to hear any other thoughts on Person of Interest.
Thank you for sharing, Jessica.
No problem. Thank you for listening to me ramble for 10 minutes.
No, it made me really want to read this more. So I think I'm going to borrow this from my mom since, she's already has it.
And if she doesn't, I'll just buy
Trudy
you a
has...
copy and send it to you.
Yeah, it doesn't look as overwhelming now that you've shared. So thank you.
You're welcome. Thanks, you guys. See you soon.